Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here again to sort through the sources and pull out what really matters for you. And today, we're looking at a project that actually starts with, well, a bit of an inventory headache. Yeah, our source material is called Notes on Gardening, Part 699 from October 28, 2025. It lays out this situation. A gardener, clearly quite dedicated, has ended up with a bunch of empty glass aquarium tank, apparently leftovers from a long-pending fish room project. You know, the one that never seems to materialize. So the tanks are there, the fish, not so much. So our mission today, figure out how to repurpose this glass. We're exploring turning these tanks into miniature ecosystems, specifically terrariums or vivariums. But, before we even think about building them, we need to get the definition straight. What are we actually talking about?
Exactly. And getting that definition right is key here. We're essentially shifting from dreams of fish tanks to these self-contained land environments. And the source material makes it pretty clear, right? You start with the same thing, an empty tank, but adding just one specific element changes everything. The complexity, the cost, the commitment, it all just leaps up. So understanding that difference, that's really what this deep dive is about.
Okay, let's break it down then, using these notes. What's the fundamental difference? Let's start with the simpler one, the terrarium.
Right, the terrarium. The notes describe it basically as a miniature garden, just a collection of plants inside a container. And that container is typically self-contained, transparent, and enclosed. Usually glass, like those aquarium tanks. Think of it like a tiny sealed garden in a bottle, almost.
So plants mainly. Maybe some mosses, small ferns, that sort of thing. And it's mostly enclosed, so it kind of waters itself through condensation.
Precisely. Especially the closed type. You set up your layers drainage, substrate put in the plants, maybe mist it initially, seal it up. And if you've got the right light, it pretty much manages its own little water cycle. It's relatively low maintenance once you get it established.
Okay, that sounds pretty straightforward. Good use for an empty tank if you just want something green.
Yeah, it's the simpler path. Your focus is purely botanical. You're thinking about soil, light, moisture for the plants. It's the, let's say, low barrier entry point for repurposing those tanks.
But then, the vivarium, the notes say it's like a terrarium, but with one additional item. What's that item, and why is it such a game changer?
Well, that one item is animals, live animals.
Oh.
Yeah, the vivarium includes creatures living with the plants. The source mentions reptiles, amphibians, maybe insects. And the second you add fauna, you're not just growing plants anymore, you're managing an entire environment. It becomes active, dynamic, and frankly, much higher stakes.
Right, that makes sense. The purpose completely shifts, doesn't it? It's not just about keeping plants happy anymore.
Exactly. The notes say you're creating a simulated natural habitat for the creatures alongside the plants. It's about their well-being first.
So why is that such a huge technical jump? I mean, we're talking maybe a small gecko or a frog. How much harder can that be?
Oh, it's a massive leap compared to just plants. Think about what those animals need. A terrarium might just need, a spot near a window or a basic grow light. But a vivarium, for, let's say, a dirt frog or a small lizard, suddenly you need very specific things.
Okay, like what?
Well, first, the substrate is more complex. Often you need a drainage layer, a false bottom, so the animals aren't sitting in wet, stagnant conditions. That's crucial. Second, temperature. Many reptiles and amphibians need specific heat levels, sometimes even a gradient warmer on one side, cooler on the other.
Yeah.
You're looking at heat mats, ceramic emitters, thermostats, things you just don't need for moss.
And I bet lighting is a big one, too.
That's the third and often the most critical and expensive part, specialized lighting. Specifically, UVB lighting.
Right, for vitamin D synthesis.
Exactly. Many reptiles need UVB to process calcium properly. Without it, they get serious health problems, like metabolic bone disease. So that means specific, often costly, UVB bulbs and fixtures. And you have to replace those bulbs regularly, maybe every 6 months, even if they still look like they're working, because the UV output degrades.
Wow, okay, so you've gone from maybe misting a plant now and then to, what? Monitoring temperature, humidity with sensors, managing heating systems, providing specific light spectrums.
All day, every day.
That really highlights the difference. It's not just adding a frog, it's adding a whole life support system. The infrastructure, the cost, the daily attention. It's a completely different level of commitment, all starting from that same empty tank.
And that's the core takeaway from this first part. Adding that animal element transforms a simple repurposing project into a serious investment of time, money, and learning. You really need to know what you're getting into.
Okay, that definitely clarifies the what's. So let's shift gears a bit. Why is this whole idea, terrariums and vivariums, seemingly becoming more popular now? The source mentions the author seeing a dedicated shop for terrariums in a mall. That suggests it's moving beyond just a niche hobby, right?
Yeah, it seems so. And the notes give a pretty clear reason for this trend. It points directly to the increased trend of condominium living and other types of housing where gardening space is limited.
Ah, the space crunch.
Exactly. More people are living in smaller spaces, often urban apartments or condos, with little or no access to a traditional garden plot.
Yeah, I can relate to that. You want that connection to nature, you want to grow something, but all you've got is maybe a small balcony or just a windowsill. It can feel disconnected.
Right, and that's where these little ecosystems come in. The terrarium especially offers, as the source puts it, an attractive and space-efficient alternative.
Yeah.
It lets people explore growing plants within the confines of their homes. You don't need a backyard, you just need a little bit of shelf space. It's like gardening, but concentrated.
So it's partly practical, fitting nature into a small footprint, but maybe also partly psychological, bringing green indoors when you're surrounded by concrete.
I think absolutely. There's that biophilia aspect, that innate desire to connect with living things. And beyond space, think about time. Urban life is often busy. A well-set-up closed terrarium, as we said, it can be incredibly low maintenance. It might go weeks or months needing very little from you.
That's a huge plus.
It is. It fits the lifestyle. You get the green, the growth, without the daily demands of weeding or watering a larger garden. It solves both the space and the time problem, in a way.
So it's really tapping into that modern urban reality, which brings us right back to where we started. The author, sitting there with these perfect empty tanks, the ideal resource for this very trendy space-saving project.
Yeah, it seems like the perfect setup, doesn't it? You've got the containers, you understand the appeal, you see the trend. What could go wrong?
Well, this is where reality bites, I suppose, because despite having the tanks and the idea, the author explicitly states that now isn't the right time to launch this new endeavor.
Oh, why not?
The reason given, simply being too busy managing a number of ongoing gardening and other projects.
Ah, the bandwidth issue.
Exactly. Which raises a really interesting point for anyone listening who might be eyeing up a new project, maybe even a terrarium.
We established that the finished terrarium can be low maintenance, right? But maybe the effort to actually get it started is the real barrier here.
That seems to be what the notes imply. If you're already juggling other things, maybe, dealing with pests on houseplants or trying to get seedlings going, does starting another project, even a supposedly simple one, just feel like too much?
Because it's not zero effort to set up.
Yeah.
You still need to source the right materials, the specific substrate layers, the charcoal, the plants themselves. You need to clean the tank properly, assemble it all correctly so it balances.
Right. There's an initial investment of time and focus.
And that initial hump might be the killer. It's like the hidden cost of low maintenance later. The source suggests that even with the perfect free resource, those tanks, and a great reason, your personal time and energy are the ultimate gatekeepers.
So if we pull it all together for you listening, we started with unused stuff, those tanks. We figured out the big difference between a terrarium, plants passive, and a vivarium, animals active, complex. We saw why these are popular now, fitting into smaller, busier lives. But then, crucially, we saw that even the best idea, the most efficient project, might have to wait if you just don't have the time or energy right now.
Yeah, the concept is solid. The timing just wasn't right for the person writing these notes. A very relatable problem, I think.
Definitely. So some key takeaways today. That sharp divide between terrariums and vivariums really hinges on adding animals, which ramps up the tech, cost, and effort massively. Think UV lights, heaters. And this whole trend connects deeply to modern living, the need for green and small spaces. But it's not just about space, it's also about time.
Right.
Which leads us to a final thought, something to chew on maybe, based on the author's own roadblock. If the big selling point of a terrarium is that it's this space-efficient alternative, how much does that space efficiency really matter if the initial time and effort needed to set it up properly are so significant that the project never even gets started? Yeah, is the bottleneck truly the square footage on your shelf, or is it the limited hours in your day? Something to think about next time you look at an empty container and imagine filling it with life. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.